suppress things. I don't really talk to people. Like nobody really at work except for you now really knows a lick about me. And it's not that I'm tight-lipped about it. I'll share, but I won't share unless it comes up in conversation or if somebody asks me something. I've been on camera as far as when I was really little. I don't know why they picked me. I guess I was a cute little boy. But I was in the newspaper a couple different times. I was on the radio once. Um, those were kind of cool things. I had a tape of my radio appearance, and it was for Christmas. It was for Santa Claus. I went to the radio station. Don't remember how I got picked because I was like 4 or 5. I've slept since then.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've lived a different life. I'm definitely not normal when it comes to other people and intelligence because when I was 5 years old, I had 140 something IQ, and intelligence is a curse because you can wrap your head around so many things and you can understand and be on both sides of almost every argument, which to me has always been a good thing because I can see both sides and I can understand why people are one way or the other. Doesn't mean that I'm going to fall with one way or the other. It just means that I understand and can, empathize with you.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of that, just me and the way I am is because of living life of a hard knocks. I mean, if you could go through it, I've been through it. DUIs, failed marriages, abusive relationships where they would actually, take my glasses, break my glasses, have my tires, scratch me, hurt me, versus the other way around. I've had my bouts with alcoholism. I never was a daily wake up in the morning drinker, but I was definitely a binge drinker. I mean, I would throw down with you. And then developed type 2 diabetes and can't drink anymore.
Yeah. Took that out the window.
That and pancreatitis, that it could kill me. And I was like, how did I get all this stuff? Because I was never a hardcore drinker. Well, I guess I've been borderline diabetic my whole life because they did the test on me when I was a teenager. I was in Brevard, North Carolina, and I had an apartment I was renting. The lease was up, and figured I'd camp because I couldn't find a place that I could afford until I found a place. Figured it wouldn't take long because there was a fair amount of places to rent. They just come and go. So my parents or my dad worked all the time. When I was very young, we lived in a trailer, and then up until the point we had a huge house with a swimming pool, and then we moved into more or less the city, in an even bigger house because my dad got a better job.
What was he doing?
They're dead. They passed away.
Or what was he doing? Working?
He was an accountant on the business end of hospitals. So he was a healthcare financial professional, I guess is how you would put that. But he was on the board of directors of quite a few hospitals. I mean, I had a pretty decent childhood, at least from the time that I was like 7 or 8 up. From the time that I was like younger, I don't remember it being quite all that gung-ho great. Not that it was bad. Neither one of my parents were, well, my dad was mentally abusive, but neither one of them were physically abusive. So I grew up with my dad always criticizing everything that I did, never happy with anything. I make an A, why didn't I make an A plus? Just never happy with anything. I always wanted to be a cook because I love food. I was born pigeon-toed. I don't know if you know what that means. It means I was born with my feet like this. So they cut my hips, or just below my hips when I was 6 to straighten my legs out so that I could walk normal. I was never able to play sports or do any of that stuff during school because of that operation. But I wasn't, because I was able to play, I was always inside with the ladies. And this was back just when TV was, when there was more than one channel. And I could watch a few things in the afternoon, but I liked to eat. And I wanted to help in the kitchen. So I learned how to make things that a kid can make really early. And then my mom used to say that I was burning bacon by the age of 7. But you know how it is. You're a kid. Okay, you're watching cartoons Saturday morning. You go like, I want bacon. I want it on high. So you put the bacon in the pan. You put it on high. You go sit down and watch cartoon. Come back, the bacon's burnt. And you're like, so I learned really early how to cook bacon on low. I was like, put it on low. Go watch a commercial or a cartoon. Come back, flip it. Go watch a cartoon. Come back, flip it, and it won't burn. It's like impossible to burn it. But it's kind of like one of those things that's hard to teach people. Most cooks, when they come into a kitchen, it is hot. Everything's just hot, just wide open, and you got to learn that you can't roll that way on everything. You got to have a little bit of finesse there, and that's hard to teach people. It's kind of like teaching people to clean up after themselves. To just go ahead and put it up when you're done. I don't mean like clean the whole area, but your utensils, whatever you're using, your supplies, put that up before you do anything else. It's not hard, doesn't take long, you're not hurting yourself. That's like waiting tables. People always, I don't have time, I don't have time. It's going to take you 10 seconds to do that thing you don't have time to do. Go do it. Just do it. And then it's off your mind. And then you can move to something else. It's like, to me, all that stuff was common sense. How people couldn't wait tables and just make bank. Because I was like, this is fun, man. You're paying me to do this? And I made more money than just because of that attitude. Just not caring, it's like, I'm here to have fun. This is a blast.
Yeah.
I get to go drink after work, and not that I do that anymore, but when I was starting to wait tables, I was like, hey, I get to talk to people, I get to meet people, and I'm getting paid to do this.
So some of these things you learned really young that you've carried throughout your life.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when did you go, what was high school like for you?
Rough, because I was kind of the outsider. I didn't have very many friends. I was the trench coat mafia.
Were you?
I mean, all by myself, because I had the army boots and the old official army trench coat. I looked for one for this job, one of those old double-breasted black military coats.
Yeah. What did you do for fun back then?
What did we do for fun? Well, I had a '69 Mustang convertible, so I was usually riding around in it. I didn't really get into biking until I was in my 20s. So, other than going to school and partying like a teenager would, that's when I first got into marijuana. I've done other drugs, but none of them were fun. I mean, I can't say that cocaine wasn't fun, but why would you want to pay $100 or $200 for something that's going to last you for one night when you could go buy a quarter for $50 and it lasts you for a week or two? So I was always like, I don't have the money for that, and that's a waste, and plus it'll kill you. It's like my mom always told me, if it didn't grow out of the ground, don't do it. So that leaves mushrooms and pot.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of information now about mushrooms that helps people with mental issues of different kinds. So, especially microdosing. So I'm all for it. I mean, we'd go out and drink on Friday and Saturday nights, go to the parties. My dad had a boat, so we'd go out on the lake a little bit. I never got into skiing myself, but I had a lot of friends that I would take out on the boat. Camping a lot. Love to go camping. That's still my thing. I'm just outdoors. That's why I wanted that liaison job, because I could care less about whether it's snowing or raining. Not that I want to get wet, but
yeah,
that's just part of life. I mean, weather is what. I mean, we're here. Why can't you enjoy it?
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want to sit out in the rain for hours on end, but the rain's still enjoyable. Not the same with the snow. At least with snow, you don't get wet.
Yeah.
It's just cold.
Yeah. So then did you go to college?
I did for about 6 years. I never did graduate. So my senior year in high school, I was smart enough to not write one single essay and still make a C in my high school senior English class. So that hurt me when I went to college to take my first English course. I couldn't pass that college essay at the very end of we got to write a 5-paragraph essay in 2 hours. I took English 4 times and didn't pass it 4 times. Couldn't finish the essay. I just couldn't do it. It has to be, in pen. Too many corrections. I would misspell and have to go back and have to start over. And it was like, but that was before they had really word processors were full on. Now I could probably go back and take the English class and not have the problems that I had. Um, but I was went into cooking, and then I was a biology major, just general biology, because I wanted to go into either cooking or I wanted to be a teacher and teach basic earth sciences to the like 8, 9, 10 year olds. The kind of just basic stuff like the rocks, the leaves and how they make their own oxygen and turn oxygen CO2 into oxygen kind of thing. Just the simple basic stuff for kids just to excite them. Um, but that not that that still couldn't happen. It's just not likely at this point in time in my life.
Yeah. And that you wanted to keep your focus outside. Sounds like.
I wanted to go work for the Forest Service, but there was a small problem with that.
Oh yeah. So when did you go? I guess there homelessness was a stage for you. It was
It
something
was
that you went through.
a choice in a sense.
Yeah. What was that like? Why did
I
you?
enjoyed it to a point. I mean, as much as you can enjoy something like that, I don't really have any negative memories of it except for the stupid things that I would do to myself, just because of depression. Um, Never met anybody that was, I don't know, mean to me, or that there was any clashes. Never got into any fights with anyone. I always, being homeless, everybody has such a stigma over it. They always automatically think you're either a drug addict or an alcoholic. I mean, that's the first thing that pops into people's minds, and that's just not true. I mean, that is there, but by and large, at least half of it is people that want to get a step up, people that just had misfortunes in life and ended up where they were. And there's families, it's husbands and wives. It's not just single people that are, addicted to something, but yes, that's there. Um, but you can't make someone not do drugs, drink alcohol. They have to decide themselves that they don't want that anymore, or that they want something better. Um, and that's kind of the same thing with being homeless. I kind of fell into the trap of everything being given to me. Um, and then finding homeless shelters that were good is like, wow, I can do this and not pay rent and have a job. And of course, in North Carolina, minimum wage was only 7.25, so it wasn't like I was really making any money to get out of my situation either. But I lived well enough, um, even though I wanted my own place and didn't really enjoy the homeless shelters that much, But when you don't have a place to go and they're offering you a mat on the floor versus sleeping outside in the cold, you're going to go do that. And I did.
What was it like sleeping out in the cold when you had to?
um, just no fun. And that was when I was camping more than anything, because it was over Thanksgiving, and it was kind of like here where we had the unusual weather where it rained for like 10 days in a row and was like crazy cold. Everything I had got soaked. I got sick. Ended up being in the hospital for 2 days. I couldn't keep water down. I got some sort of a bacterial infection. They don't really know from what, but it could just from being outside. But hopefully my immune system's stronger because of it.
So, how long were you out there?
A year, almost 2 years, but I camped for at least 6 months. And then I was in the homeless shelters for about a year and a half because it was from 2012 to 2014 easily before I got another. No, that's when my parents died, and I ended up moving it down there. That's how I got a place to live. I was trying to think, how did you get out of that? Where did you go right away when you left being homeless? I was like, oh yeah, the parents died, and you went and stayed there, and then I went and lived with my granddad and took care of him because he was 94 until he passed away.
How old were you when your parents passed?
That was 14, so 46.
46.
They both died 3 months apart. My dad had been sick for 20 years, and we kind of knew it was coming eventually. My mom had never been in the hospital from the time she gave birth to my sister, and she got sick and passed away 10 days later.
Oh man.
So it was real quick. Which, watching my dad lay there and watching him go from what he was to what he was finally, even though he was eventually bedbound, and having to lay there and not being able to take care of yourself and having the depends and all that stuff had to be miserable, even though mentally he wasn't really there because he'd had so many strokes and different things. He was still conscious and still could carry on a conversation to a point.
What was he sick with?
So he had an AVM, which is like a aneurysm. An AVM happens outside the brain matter, but inside the skull, whereas an aneurysm happens inside the brain matter. So he had something very similar, but not the same. And then when they had to go in and fix the bleed, they clipped his optic nerve. He had a couple of strokes on the table. And then that was started the 20 years. And then for about 20 years, he went up and down. 3 different times they told us he wasn't going to live through the night. And 3 different times he was sitting up eating breakfast the next morning. So, you never really know what a person can do.
What was there? You said that when you were homeless, or how did losing your parents impact all of this? I guess it sounds like they were close together.
They were. My mom took care of my dad, and everybody was like, "That's what happened." She didn't have anything else to do, and her body just kind of finally shut down from carrying herself for so long. She had stage 3 kidney failure, which is what killed her, and that kind of came slowly, but that's one of those silent killers because of the blood pressure and different things. You don't necessarily know that you've got anything going on until it's too late, and that's really what happened to her. We tried dialysis one time, and she fought it the whole time. She was unconscious, but she still fought it. Still was struggling, fighting against it, trying to put her hand down there where that big old needle was, where they put in your thigh down here. So we knew that she didn't want the machines, and just had to let her go. Because they were like, they could have kept her alive on the dialysis, but she didn't want that. And I mean, I don't really blame her because that's so painful.
It's hard.
And it's like you never really get over it when you lose a parent, when you lose somebody that's really close to you. That's another one of those weird things. It's like, it's not that you ever get over it, it's just time. It gets less and less painful. Not that it's not painful and not still there. It's just, they say time heals all wounds. It doesn't really heal them as much as it lets you kind of forget about them, move on, grow with it. Because you never forget that stuff.
Yeah.
That's just like me and all my experiences on the road and all that stuff. It's like it'll stick with me. I mean, and I learned I didn't need a phone. I didn't need to have all the trappings of society when I was homeless. That I could get by with just what I had, with me. Like right now, I didn't need to have the house, the car, all the money, and the big house, and just didn't need that. And how society has driven everybody to want to have bigger and better and more when that's really just a waste, because there's so many people that don't have. Why not share that wealth with the people that don't have? Gene Roddenberry of Star Trek, they had it right, where everybody gets the same amount. And there's really no pay, and everybody's equal for the most part. And there's no want for anything.
So, how long after your parents died did you go homeless?
Oh, I wasn't homeless after my parents died.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
I didn't
before
have a
then?
house. It was before them.
Was it through your dad's sickness?
Yeah, he was sick then.
Okay.
They were in Charlotte, and I was in Brevard when I was homeless, Brevard, Asheville area.
So what did that look like? Your mom was taking care of your dad, and you decided at that point something happened, and you decided I need to go be by myself for a while.
I really think it was more of a victim of circumstance that I didn't really plan this. The camping thing, yeah, I might have planned that just a little tiny bit, But full on being homeless, living in the shelters, doing all that for that amount of time, never expected to be in that situation.
What kind of
Just
threw you into it? What were the this? What was the situation that threw you into it?
um, was I married then? I think I was divorced at that point in time, but we weren't or separated. We weren't divorced.
It's in your 40s.
Hmm. And a lot of it started was because, like I said, I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have uh, uh my lease was up, and I don't know. I used to tell people that if given the choice between living in society and paying rent and all that stuff and being able to live in the woods and not, that I would choose the woods. So it was really kind of funny that I got to do that because I used to say that. And then after the fact, I was like, but, not that I was too old, but not like I was in my 20s or like you, where it's a little easier on the body and the mind to do what you're fixing to do versus being somebody in their 40s or 50s, because you're, just more resilient when you're younger. Um, but a lot of it was just not having a place to go, being stubborn, not wanting to give up, and like I can do this, with or without a home, and I can still survive and support myself, and live. Um, it was a lot of it was just financial. I could not a single male back east. If you're making minimum wage, there's no way you can afford a place by yourself. It's just not at 7.25 an hour. I heard somebody say that it went up to 10, but I didn't know that. But even $10 an hour, even the 14 out here is a struggle. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine how I did what I did back there, making that 7.25 an hour. And really, when you get down to it, rent and everything else is about the same all over the place. I've noticed that it's not much difference anywhere you go. The closer you get to the city, the higher the rent is, but you can find cheaper places in the suburbs. And if you look, you can find places anyway. It's just a matter of having the time to look.
So what were some of your? You said that being homeless was a good experience for you. It's something that you would even recommend to other people, right?
Well, because I learned all the things that I didn't have to have. Like I said, like the cell phones, the TVs, the just all the trappings that go along with modern life. You realize you don't need that. That you can get by without that. And then also realizing that there's so many resources out there if you're willing to go find them and use them. They're there. Maybe not so in every small little town in the U.S., but almost every big city has got all kinds of resources for anybody. You don't necessarily have to be homeless. Their resources are there. But if you're homeless and you're trying to do for yourself, there's so many places that will give you a hand up. I mean, it's amazing what's out there if you really look for it.
What were some of your favorite experiences or memories from that?
Um, I remember the families and getting and playing with the kids in some of the homeless shelters, um, and also the fact that 90% of all the people that were in there were friendly. A lot of people kept to themselves, but at the same time, it was kind of like a camaraderie where everybody were comrades in arms, and it's like I never had anything stolen. And it's not that that doesn't happen, but it's kind of like honor amongst thieves. Usually the people look out for each other. They take care of themselves, especially when you get into groups of homeless that have been together for a while. I didn't really get involved in anything like that, but I've seen that. I know that they will take care of their own. And I was always impressed with that. Complete strangers taking care of other people, and those to me were the things that just showed me that how much compassion is still in the world. There's a lot of that we just don't see anymore. So those would be the things that I really brought with me or carry with me still from that experience was that people are not what you're led to believe. The stereotypes are not real. You know, even for gay and lesbian and trans and all that other stuff, the stereotypes are not the way they portray it in politics and news media these days. It's just not. You know, people are still people. People are still kind.
So you saw the kindness out there was
Yeah.
something that you held on to. Was there an individual that was especially kind to you that sticks with this memory, this feeling?
Um, the one shelter that I lived at in Brevard, the staff there were extra nice, and there was one lady, I don't remember her name, um, who was just extra. I want to say didn't give me like leeway, but helped me to keep my job, to just to do things that I was struggling to do at that point in time. There wasn't like I wasn't really drinking at that point. For one thing, in the shelters they typically don't allow you to do that. And that was another way. It was easy to quit because I wasn't around that anymore. Um, Picked up smoking cigarettes again during that time. Walking around picking up ducks. I thought that was so cool. An old Navy dude said that's what we used to call them because they float on the water. We called them ducks.
What what helped you out of that situation? Actually, before that, what were the hardest points for you while you were homeless? What was the most difficult part of it?
Probably the my shyness, my fear of other people that's not legit, but being afraid of how people are going to react to me. When I've never really had anybody react negatively, but there's still that whatever. And I think that goes back into the fact that when I was really young, I used to get beat up a lot. So I'm always a little afraid that that's going to happen again. Um, I'm kind of think I got off track of the question you asked me there, though.
No, not at all. So you were bullied when you were
A
younger?
lot, yeah. I can remember quite a few times being practically beat down to the ground. Um, yeah, not a lot of fun. I was four eyes, piglet glasses. I was always the smallest kid, and then I got my growth spurt probably the sophomore year of high school. But I was little. I mean, you know, I didn't break 5 foot until I was in high school.
And so that fear of those experiences kind of stuck with you throughout life.
Even though they're, I don't know, it's a subconscious thing. It's yet again it's one of those things I wish I could flip, and I know that there's a way to do it. I don't know. It's kind of like dreams. If you have a dream where something's chasing you, if you can, because you can control your dreams to a point, you really can. If you decide that you don't want that chasing you no more, and you turn around and face it in your dream, those dreams will stop. I've done that. I got mad because something was chasing me, and I kept having the same dream, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, you know. And I started chasing him, and how that was the coolest feeling in my dream to be chasing whatever it was that was chasing me, and then I stopped having those dreams of being chased by something.
So when you were camping and then you were in shelters
Mm.
a lot of the time, what kind of eventually got you out of that situation?
Like I said, my parents died, but I know that I kept jobs the whole time. It was the same job, the same place. I think that the owner of the, because there was a small little one bedroom trailer that I rented for about 6 months. It could be that I went into that trailer right when from being homeless, because I had that job. It was just down the street from work, like not even 100 yards away from work. A 1950s one bedroom trailer, really kind of cool to be in that old and still in good shape. But I'm pretty sure that's how I got away from, because I couldn't have afforded it by myself. And then I remember living in that trailer until just before my parents died, and then going and living with my parents, and then they passed away. So yeah, that would have been how I got out of it. I guess he was tired of seeing me go to the hospital because of being out in the wilderness or having issues with the homeless shelter, and he knew somebody that had that one bedroom trailer, so he hooked me up.
Um, what what do you want? So let's, I guess, consider the audience for a second. And
Yeah.
what do you want to share with them? All of them. You know, some of these people might be homeless. Some of them might have money and be able to help, or maybe some of us just need to learn how to interact with homeless people different on the street. What is some of your advice that you have from your experiences?
Just that most of the people that are out there aren't addicts. That they have mental issues, or either they're just in a bad spot and had nowhere else to go, and to support your local food drives, food banks, any sort of community activity that supports homelessness, or doesn't support it, but helps people get away from it, or gives people a hand up. Donate to that, and time. You're giving your time is more valuable really than money, because the interactions with the people help you keep your sanity, to see that there's other people out there on the other side that are doing their thing and you're over here struggling, but you can get to that. So, like I said, time and money, but time to me will be the thing that volunteer. I mean, that's people need to see that people care. And money doesn't show that you care. That's just throwing money at it. Put your time and effort into it to show that you care.
Why do you think they struggle with that?
Because people automatically think they're just drug addicts and alcoholics, and that they are just looking for free food, free place to stay, free place to crash, and they don't want to help because they think that they're in there because they want to be there, which you can't say that some don't. But I think, like I said, it's just a stigma. And it's gotten to be such a thing with the homeless camps that people just, some people help. There's some people that help way more than they should, and then the majority of people don't help. They don't care. It's not in front of me, so I don't have to see it, so I don't have to deal with it until it's directly in front of you. And it's there. It's not going to go away, not unless society changes a whole lot.
Do you have advice for any of the homeless people that are in the situation?
To not give up. Try to stay clean. If you can stay clean, you can get up. It's not as hard as you make it out to be. You just got to decide you want to do it. That's it. Just deciding you want it. If you want it bad enough, you'll get it. But until that time, it's hard. I know it is. But once you decide that you want something, and once you decide that there is a better place for you, then you'll get there. May not be tomorrow, but you'll get there.